Coming up on the program today, we're going to get some of our broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage planted in the front yard, and there's some techniques that we need to follow. And we have encountered powdery mildew. We'll discuss some of the options you have if you're facing plants that look just like this. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by, for all your non-GMO, heirloom, organic, vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil, retains moisture and adds nutrients, which equals less watering. Available in Sioux organic seed starting kits, pre-filled trays and pots, bag and bulk. Visit SiouxCompost.com. Don't poison your soil with municipal water. Attach a body, mind, and soil hose and filter. Free shipping exclusively through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Just click on the body, mind, and soil icon. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew, 100% organic. Visit ManureTea.com. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. We're going to get our broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage in the ground here in the front yard garden. Now, some things you want to keep note here is broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage all take between 60 and 75 days to reach maturity. They are a cool weather crop, and now we're in the early stages of September, which means 70 days will push you into early portions of November. Based on your climate, you may be pushing the temperatures, you might be pushing it to get these to mature. Now, these have already been started, as you see here, probably a good 30 days. We planted them 30 days ago just so we could get a jump start. We're going to plant them in the front yard garden here. Now, when planting them in the fall, you want to keep in mind of where the sun currently is and where the sun will be as the duration of the year goes on. The sun's that way now. As the days get shorter, it will be more over top of the house here and setting right behind me. So we want to keep in mind that these are cool weather crops, and as the days get shorter, we want more sunlight on them because we want them to be warm enough to grow. Kind of different than in the spring. In the spring, you want to plant them where it's shady and where they're going to, the opposite of that, where it's going to be a lot of sun and start to get shade because the days get longer and warmer. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we've dug potatoes out of here. Now we're going to plant these about every foot. I've got a couple different varieties that we got here in the root maker. So what we're going to do here is try to extract, let's see how many I have here. Okay, I've got two here. What are these? These are green cabbage. So we're going to gently, there we go, that's what I want to say. Oh, I got three in there. Okay. You can see what the root maker does. It produces a nice root system to where when it hits the perforated holes in the tray, it air prunes instead of wraps around like a traditional container. So we're going to break these apart and then get them planted here. All right, so I've broken them apart. You can let these dry a little bit to make it easier, or you can just plant one seed per cell. We prefer to plant multiples, so in case one doesn't germinate, we still are not wasting that space there. So I'm going to plant them next to the leeks here. Not going to do anything special, just make sure the grade here is relatively level. And I'm going to put them down. Now, they came out of the container. That's where the root ball was. I'm going to plant them just about an inch deeper. Not because it's going to put roots on it, but more of a supporting measure than anything else. They will not put roots on. They're not part of the nightshade family. So I'm going to backfill. And then I'm going to put them down. Now, they came out of the container. That's where the root ball was. I'm going to plant them just about an inch deeper. Not because it's going to put roots on it, but more of a supporting measure than anything else. They will not put roots on. They're not part of the nightshade family. So I'm going to backfill and let it be there. Now you can go ahead and put containers or cups around these, rings around soda bottles to help prevent bugs from eating them, or rodents from getting a hold of them. That's personal preference. So we're going to put another one there, and then we'll put one more there, and then we'll talk about what else we got to plant. All right, so I'm getting my red cabbage planted here, and that's going to be about all the room I have, and with these extra ones we can go ahead and later on I'll plant them down at the other end of the garden. Now what I'm doing here is what is called intensive planting. If you read in the books, it's recommended to plant broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage between 12 and 18 inches apart, with rows between 1 and 2 foot apart. Well, we don't have the space for that, and many of you who garden don't have that space available either to space properly. We don't have acreages to plant in. So what we're doing here is intensely planting, which means I'm putting a cabbage, and then I'm spacing 8 inches and putting another cabbage. So what's going to happen here is that these are going to grow into each other, so it's just going to be a hedge in a perfect scenario. A hedge of cabbage, a hedge of, this is cabbage as well, and this is cabbage. And it will just grow into one another, so you just have one continuous row. So that's the intentions here. And as the days get cooler, this stuff will grow better, because as we know in the summertime or in the early spring, we try to gauge when to get this stuff in the ground. And then as the days get warmer, it really hampers the growth and the productivity of these cool weather crops. So we're going to try it in the fall and see if we can reverse the roles and get it to grow better as the days get shorter and get cooler. Growing in containers is a great way to expand your growing area, whether you have ground to grow in or not. We're going to harvest the potatoes that we planted in the containers. We've got a variety of different potatoes and a variety of different types of devices that we've planted them in. Not specifically knowing which is what, we planted the potatoes that we had available from Wood Prairie Farms. This here is just a small plastic container that many of us have available. I do remember I had banana Russian fingerling potatoes in here. Put a couple in there, so we're just going to tip it out and see if anything grew in this container. Yes, we have. That's the seed potato there. That's the nutrients that was given to the plant until it got roots established. That's not important. Some nice Russian banana fingerlings here. Now remember, this is probably a, it doesn't specific. Probably a 1-2 gallon container. So a very small container, not recommended for potatoes at all, but I wanted to see how it would react to growing potatoes. And with one seed potato in here, we have a nice bundle of Russian banana fingerlings. Let's see if I got anything up. There's a little one there. We don't need that, so I can compost. But again, you have a container, you have no ground to grow in. Just a 1 or 2 gallon container can grow you some potatoes. So we'll put that to the side. Well, let's put those right there. I'm going to fill the container back up with soil, and we can grow something else in it. All right, set that aside. Now let's look at one of these root trappers or grow bags here. Don't have a clue what type of variety this was. As the potato dies back, this is not something that is wrong with your plant. It's the natural procedure of the plant. Once it dies back, it indicates that it's ready to harvest. So we're just going to tip this out and see if we have anything of value in here. Well, we have a major cluster of worms right there. All right. All right, so here was the seed potato. Has not rotted yet. Not just looking at that, I can't tell you the variety of it. Now, one thing you can see here, and this is one of the reasons when you plant potatoes you might want to let this harden over or callus over, is there's insects inside there. There's some kind of weird worm, some kind of grub in there eating off that potato. There's a roly-poly. So that's one of the reasons why you might want to let these callus over before you plant them, so you can get a harvest and the insects do not eat your potato, seed potato. That's another seed potato. So here's a couple of nice little potatoes here. Let's see what else we have. Now you can put your stalks in the compost pile if you know that you had no diseases such as blight or other diseases that your plant may have picked up. We're okay with that. Seed potato can go in the compost pile. So that was right there, that was from 2 seed potatoes in a container that really was not maintained hardly at all. So not terrible there. We'll put the soil back in this container so we can use it again. There's another one. You always miss one or two. Okay. Well, we can reuse that container there. So again, not a tremendous harvest, but there's a lot of variables that go into a harvest like this. Amount of moisture in a container, the temperature that the container sets at, the type of potato that you are growing in it can greatly affect the yield, the end result of the potatoes that you harvest. Growing in containers is much easier to harvest than if you was in the traditional ground, but it's a personal preference that each gardener makes. So we got a variety of potatoes here that I am pleased with. Obviously, as all gardeners, we'd like to see, 50 pounds come out of each grow bag, but that's not realistic. So we do have potatoes. They are healthy looking potatoes, and that is pleasing to us. So growing in containers is a great way to expand your harvest, whether you have ground to grow in or not. So we've got a pumpkin here that's a little out of control, which is fine. Typical pumpkins will take 20 to 50, 60 square feet based on your variety. So there's a couple of things that we can do to accelerate and help this pumpkin produce the 2 pumpkins that we already have on them. They're of decent size, so we want to try to get them to mature in as big as they can before the frost comes. So now, unlike the large garden, here at the sister-in-law's backyard garden, we grew this out of a bag of certified leaf compost from Sue's. This worked great. Don't know why it didn't work at the other garden. But what we can do here, number one, we planted about 20 seeds in this bag because we didn't, the pumpkin seeds were a very old seed, and we wanted to make sure we had something that would germinate. So what we can do here first is make sure that we've got the vines here that have no pumpkins on them, and we're just going to cut them back out of the bag here, get rid of those. And the reason why is they do have some baby pumpkins about the size of a marble. They're not going to reach maturity in the next 30 to 60 days, kind of 30, yeah, we're September, 30 to 60 days. So we want to get rid of those so the nutrients, what nutrients is in the compost, will be fed to this big pumpkin here. Now, a couple other things we can do here is let's go to the growing tips. What we can do here, this pumpkin will grow indefinitely until it gets frost on it, until frost and it dies. So pumpkins, this pumpkin here, it will continue to try to grow that pumpkin and take energy away from the plant. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut off any fruit that we see, and then we're going to cut back a growing tip there. You can see a growing tip. Just kind of go back and look and see where anything might be growing. This one here is probably going to die, but we're going to cut that one back. All we're essentially doing here is, and real quickly here, pumpkins will put roots on anywhere where the vine touches the ground, so nutrients will continue to feed into the plant. So what we're going to do is just kind of cut back that. I'm going to leave that for right now. And we're just kind of go through and kind of cut back what we can, and that will allow more energy to be focused on the fruit than it will be to grow more vines. So that's one way you can do to control and accelerate and try to help your pumpkins grow better by trimming them back. So it's the mid to later portions of summer. Powdery mildew has occurred on our viney crops. Powdery mildew is a mildew that leaves a white powdery substance on the leaves. This is caused by moisture accumulating on the plants and not having adequate time to dry off before nightfall, a mildew forms, and that's where we sit now. This mildew, you can run your fingers on there and it comes out off on your hand. What this essentially is doing is preventing the plant from photosynthesizing, acquiring enough sunlight for the plant to grow. We had this on our square bell zucchini, one of them, not the other one, as well as our butternut and spaghetti squash and some zucchini over on the far side of the garden there. There's a couple of remedies or a couple of solutions or a couple of things you can do here. One, for instance, in this situation, we could rip this plant out and leave the plant that's unaffected. Now, this plant does have some powdery mildew on it, beginning stages of it. If you have minimal amount of powdery mildew, like we have on this plant, you can just cut away the affected leaves of it and discard them. Don't put them in your compost pile. If you have a problem such as we're having here, where it's affecting a large portion of plants, then you can go to a remedy that we have found, at least to help prolong the life of the plant. May not cure it, but it will greatly help to at least let the plant reach the point where the fruit on it has reached maturity. Joe Lample from Growing a Greener World has a very informative article on this that we will provide in the show notes below. There's a number of different remedies, the household remedies, that you can go ahead and use on your plants. Some are more effective than others, but it's based on the material that you have available. We're going with the milk and water. 1 part milk, any type of milk, to 2 parts water. And what we're going to do is we're going to spray the plants, getting the tops and the bottoms of the plants leaves. We want to mist it. Get our adjustment right there. We want to mist the top and as much as the bottom. And what this is going to do is help break down that mildew on it and then allow the plant to pick up the light that it needs to grow. So we're going to go around and try to do as much as we can. Now, plants like we have over here with the spaghetti squash vine, right here with these leaves here, these are past saving. They've got powdery mildew on it and they've died back. So that really is not something we can do much for. So it leaves us with a problem. Do we cut back all of that to prevent this, even though this is infected? Or do we try to coat everything with the solution here and see what is the best reasoning? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do number 2 on that. I'm going to coat everything that we've got with the milk water recipe. And there's not much I can do with these leaves here. A lot of this plant has grown. Spaghetti squash, butternut squash can go 15 to 30 square feet. So that's kind of where we got it through the corn, we got it on the back side here of the fence, we've got some trailing this way. Not all the leaves are affected by this. So that's what I'm going to try to do, is coat everything so at least we can start having some preventive measures here. Some plants are more affected than others, but this is what we run into. Is there really something you can do to prevent powdery mildew? Keep the plants well weeded, which there's not many weeds here, and open to air circulation to try to get the leaves to dry off prior to get the leaves to dry off so a mildew doesn't form. So that's kind of what we're at. We've done both of those and we still acquire it. This is not the severity that we've seen in years past, but it is a problem that we have to face. So there's several solutions and several remedies to prolong the life of the plant in order to get the fruit off of it. And it really depends on the time of the season. If we've got 30 days left to grow, we're going to try to do our best to control it. If we were looking at 80 or 90 days, and this is very early in the season, then that would be a whole new scenario, a whole new different set of problems and solutions that we would follow. Thanks for joining us. Join us next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.